I never really liked visiting my aunt's place. Too many empty fields. Too many empty houses. But it was Easter. And family is family. So I packed my bag and drove the 3 hours to get there. Her house sat at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by woods and the sagging skeletons of old barns. Out past her backyard there was a hill. And on that hill a small cemetery. So old the names had worn off most of the stones. Nobody talked about it. Except once. When I was a kid. And my cousin told me, "You don't go near the hill after dark on Easter Eve." I laughed back then. Thought it was just dumb local ghost stories. This time when I arrived, Aunt May hugged me tight. But she looked tired. Thinner. Like the years had peeled something out of her. She made lamb stew. Set the table with her best plates. We ate quietly. Then she asked if I remembered the old rule. I didn't want to seem rude. So I said yes. She nodded. Just don't look back if you hear the bells. Simple. Ridiculous. And somehow it made my skin crawl. After dinner I went to my old room. The one with the slanted ceiling and the creaky bed. The house settled around me, popping and sighing like it was breathing. Somewhere far off I heard laughter. Soft. Like it was being blown across the fields. I didn't sleep. Around midnight the bells started. Not loud. Not cheerful. They rang slow. Like someone was dragging the clapper against the side. Deep. Wet sounding. I sat up in bed. Heart hammering. The bells kept going. Pulling at me. Tugging at something deep behind my ribs. And then I heard footsteps. Not Aunt May. She would have called out. These were soft. Shuffle drag. Like bare feet over dusty wood. Moving down the hallway outside my room. I told myself not to move. Not to breathe. But the floorboards creaked closer. And the bells kept ringing. Getting heavier. Sinking into the walls. I clenched my fists under the blanket. Something whispered my name. I wanted to scream. Wanted to pull the covers over my head like a kid. But instead, I turned my head. Just a little. Toward the door. And that's when I saw it. A figure. Standing just beyond the frame. Long. Thin. Bent at wrong angles. Like it had been folded into a human shape but didn't quite fit. Its head tilted. Watching me. The bells boomed louder. Right inside my skull. I squeezed my eyes shut. Counted backwards from 10. Willed myself to stay still. But when I opened them again, the figure was closer. Halfway across the room. Kneeling at the foot of my bed. Hands too long. Palms resting on the mattress. Waiting. I couldn't move. Not even to breathe. The thing knelt there. Watching. Waiting. Its hands didn't twitch. Its head didn't tilt. It was perfectly still. Too still. Like it wasn't breathing at all. I thought about what Aunt May had said. Don't look back if you hear the bells. But I had looked. I had turned my head. And now. It was here. The bells outside kept ringing. Each clang slower. Heavier. The air in the room grew thick. Sticky. It felt like I was trying to breathe through syrup. The thing leaned closer. Its hands dragged across the blanket. Fingertips brushing the fabric. Cold. It whispered my name again. But it didn't sound right. Like it was trying to remember how to say it. Trying to wear my name like a coat that didn't fit. I squeezed my eyes shut. Bit down hard on my lip. hard enough to taste blood. Somewhere in the house. Another door creaked. Another set of footsteps. Slow. Scraping the wood. I wasn't alone with it anymore. There were more. I counted the bells. 7. 8. 9. Each one heavier than the last. Each one shaking the floor a little harder. The thing at the foot of the bed didn't move away. It didn't vanish. It waited. Then I heard the front door of the house open. A gust of cold air blew through the hallway, carrying with it a smell. Not rot. Not smoke. Something older. Drier. Like dust from a coffin that had never been opened. I heard my aunt's voice. Thin. Barely a whisper. Don't speak to them. Then the bells rang again. 10. 11. And with the 11th, the thing at the end of the bed stood up. Not like a person stands up, but unfolded. Slow. Creaking. Its joints bending the wrong way. It turned. Facing the door. There was a figure standing there now. Not my aunt. Someone smaller. A child maybe. Its face covered by long wet hair. It reached out a hand. Beckoning. Inviting. The thing at the foot of the bed stepped forward. The child stepped back. And together, they faded into the hallway. I stayed frozen for hours. Until the first light pushed through the crooked blinds. Until the bells finally stopped. Until the footsteps were only a memory scratching at the inside of my skull. When I finally staggered downstairs, Aunt May was waiting. She looked at me like she already knew. Like she had always known. She handed me a cup of coffee. Hands trembling. Eyes shining with something that wasn't quite tears. You turned, she said. Not accusing. Just tired. I didn't know what to say. So I just nodded. She looked toward the hill outside. Toward the cemetery. Where the mist still clung low over the stones. Now you belong to them. I didn't stay for breakfast. I packed my bag. Threw it into the car. And drove. I didn't say goodbye to Aunt May. She didn't ask me to. The road away from her house was narrow. Cracked. Grass pushing through the old asphalt. I kept my eyes on the center line. Hands tight on the wheel. The farther I drove, the heavier I felt. Like the car was filling with smoke I couldn't see. I tried to tell myself it was just nerves. Just lack of sleep. But then I heard them. The bells. Not outside. Inside. Inside my head. Behind my eyes. Deep in my teeth. Soft at first. Like memory. Then louder. Shaking the steering wheel in my hands. I pressed the gas harder. Pushed the old car faster down the winding road. The trees blurred by. The fences. The dead fields. But no matter how far I got, the bells stayed with me. I reached the main highway. Spun the wheel too hard. Nearly fishtailed. The radio crackled on. Even though I hadn't touched it. Static. Broken voices. Whispers. Then, a voice clear and close. Not from the speakers. From the passenger seat. You looked. I didn't look. I didn't dare. I kept my eyes locked on the road. I drove until the sun rose higher. Until the trees thinned. Until the houses grew closer together. But the air in the car never changed. Heavy. Wet. Full of the scent of dust and stone. At the first gas station I saw, I pulled in. Killed the engine. Silence. No bells. No whispers. I exhaled for the first time in hours. Maybe it was over. Maybe it had stayed back there. With the house. With the cemetery. I went inside. Bought a coffee. Tried to make small talk with the cashier. She smiled. Tired. Bored. Then she frowned. "You okay, honey? You look pale." I lied. Said I was fine. On the way out, I passed a rack of old postcards. Cheap ones. Sun faded. One caught my eye. A picture of a hill. A small cemetery. White stones leaning into each other. Half swallowed by grass. The title said, "Come visit the Bells Hill." I dropped the coffee. It splashed across the floor. The cashier cursed behind me. I stumbled outside. Heart pounding. Looked back at the road. The trees. And for just a moment, I saw it. Standing at the edge of the woods. Long. Thin. Still. Watching. Waiting. The bells rang once inside my chest. A low, heavy thud. Like the starting beat of a funeral drum. I knew then. I hadn't escaped. I had carried it with me. I didn't go home. Couldn't. Every time I thought about it. About my apartment. My bed. The bells inside me rang louder. I checked into a motel just off the highway. One of those low flat places with buzzing signs and carpets that smell like wet towels. The woman at the front desk didn't ask questions. I liked that. The room was cold. The heater rattled when I turned it on. But it didn't matter. I needed walls around me. Something between me and the trees. I sat on the bed. Back against the headboard. Watching the door. Watching the window. Waiting. The bells didn't stop. They were quieter here. Muted. But steady. A pulse in my blood. I tried the TV. Static. I tried my phone. No service. The digital clock on the nightstand blinked 12, 12, 12. Over and over. Never moving. I stayed awake as long as I could. But sometime near dawn, my eyes slipped closed. Just for a second. And that's when it came. Not with footsteps. Not with voices. Just appearing. Standing at the foot of the bed. The same way it had in Aunt May's house. It leaned closer. I smelled the dust again. That dry old scent of graves cracked open under the sun. Its hands rested on the footboard. Fingers too many. Too long. Tapping out a rhythm that didn't match the bells. In my dream. Or maybe not a dream. It spoke. You looked. And the walls of the motel room peeled back. Not burned. Not blown. Just fell away. Like old skin. Behind them. Only the hill. Only the stones. Only the empty graves yawning open. Waiting. I woke with a start. The clock still flashing 12, 12, 12. But the door was open. Just a crack. The night air seeping in. Carrying a faint smell of dust. I slammed it shut. Locked every bolt. Shoved a chair under the knob. But it didn't matter. It wasn't the door that let it in. I checked the mirror over the sink. Half expecting not to see my own face. But I was there. Tired. Hollow-eyed. Real. Almost. Except for one thing. In the reflection. Just for a second. I saw someone standing behind me. Long. Thin. Smiling. I checked out of the motel before the sun was fully up. The woman at the desk smiled. Asked if I had a good night. I nodded. Lie. The bells hummed low in my ears. But she didn't seem to hear them. Nobody did. I got back on the highway. Drove for hours. Miles blurring into each other. I stopped at a diner. Somewhere nameless. The kind with cracked leather booths and coffee that smells stronger than it tastes. I sat near the window. Watched the parking lot. Watched the woods beyond it. The waitress brought coffee. Smiled. You traveling alone, honey? I nodded again. She poured. Walked away. The bells pulsed once. Hard enough to make the coffee ripple. I flinched. Looked around. Nobody noticed. Nobody heard. I finished half the cup. Couldn't taste it. Only the dust in my mouth. The dry stone that had never really left. When I went to pay, I noticed the bulletin board by the door. Local ads. Missing pets. A poster about a charity bake sale. And one photo. Taped crooked. A boy. About 12. Dark hair. Serious eyes. The words underneath blurred as I stared. Missing since Easter. The bells rang harder. Louder. I staggered outside. Nearly dropping the keys. The woods across the road moved. Not the trees. The spaces between them. Shifting. Breathing. I drove without knowing where I was going. The sun dipped low. Then lower. Shadows growing longer. Thinner. Like fingers pulling at the sky. At a gas station miles later. I called Aunt May. She answered on the first ring. Her voice thin. Fragile. You still hear them, don't you? I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. She sighed. A sound full of stones and winter. It's too late now. I wanted to scream. To ask how to stop it. How to break it. But she had already hung up. I stood there under the buzzing fluorescent lights. Watching my reflection in the glass door. Watching the woods behind me grow thicker. Closer. The bells louder now. Steady as a heartbeat. But not my own. No one else could hear them. Not the cashier. Not the people pumping gas. Only me. Because I had looked. Because I had listened. And the thing that wore my name. The thing that waited by my bed. It wasn't done yet. Not even close. I tried to drive home. I really did. But every turn seemed wrong. Every road circled back. The GPS spun uselessly. No signal. No maps. Just a blinking arrow lost in blank space. The sun dipped below the trees, painting everything in heavy blood orange. I pulled over. Killed the engine. Sat there. Listening. To the bells. Steady now. Almost gentle. I realized then. They weren't chasing me anymore. They were guiding me. I looked in the rearview mirror. Half expecting nothing. Half expecting too much. For a second. I saw it. Not a reflection. Not a shape. A weight. A second set of eyes. Watching through my own. I blinked. It was gone. But the feeling stayed. I stepped out of the car. The gravel crunched under my boots. The woods loomed close. Closer than they should have been. I heard my own voice. Not an echo. Not a memory. My voice. Calling from the trees. Come back. I stumbled backward. Nearly fell against the door. The woods moved again. Breathed. The trees leaned inward. Their shadows stitching together. Making a path. I slammed back into the car. Locked the doors. Started the engine. The bells laughed. Not a sound. Not a real laugh. But a pressure in my ears. Like amusement. Like patience. On the road again. I kept seeing things in the corners of my eyes. Shapes. Faces. Sometimes my own. Sometimes something worse. Longer. Hungrier. At a red light in some forgotten town. I caught my reflection in the side mirror. Only it wasn't right. My mouth moved first. Without my face. The lips forming silent words. Let us in. The light turned green. I sped through. Didn't look back. Somewhere past midnight. I reached a small motel. The sign buzzed and flickered. No other cars in the lot. I took a room at the far end. Paid cash. Didn't speak. The clerk didn't either. His eyes were too old. Too empty. Like he knew. Like he had seen it before. The room was clean. Bare. Cold. I locked the door. Wedged a chair under the handle. Pulled the curtains tight. Sat with my back to the wall. Knees pulled to my chest. I knew I wasn't alone. Not anymore. The bells were inside me now. Soft. Constant. Like breath. When I finally slept, I dreamed I was walking. Barefoot. Across cold wet grass. Toward a hill. Toward stones. Toward an open grave. I woke to darkness. Not the kind you get when the lights are off. The kind that breathes. The kind that leans in. The bells were louder now. No longer just inside me. They filled the room. Pushing against the walls. Pushing into my head. I tried to stand. My legs didn't work right. They bent slow. Like I was moving through heavy water. The motel room stretched. The corners peeling back. The door swinging open without a sound. Beyond it. A path. Lined with stones. Leading into the woods. I didn't want to go. Every part of me screamed to stay. To lock the door. To hide. But my feet moved. One step. Then another. Like strings tied to my bones. Pulling. The woods swallowed me whole. The trees dripping wet with mist. The air thick. Sweet. Rotten. The bells guided me. Their beat deep in the roots. Deep in the sky. Ahead. The hill. The one from Aunt May's backyard. Only wrong. Too steep. Too sharp. The stones leaned in. Crooked. Broken. Watching. I climbed. Hands slipping on the wet earth. Knees scraping against roots. The bells grew faster. Wild. Hungry. At the top. An open grave. Waiting. I stood there. The mist swirling around my ankles. The sky pulsing with every toll of the invisible bell. And inside the grave. Not emptiness. Not bones. A mirror. A surface smooth and dark. But when I looked, it wasn't my reflection staring back. It was the thing. Long. Thin. Smiling with my mouth. Its hand reached up. Slow. Inviting. The bells screamed. I stumbled back. But my body leaned forward. Desperate. Thirsty. A voice spoke from the mist. Not Aunt May. Not anyone I knew. Something older. The grave was never empty. The grave had been waiting. For me. For anyone foolish enough to look. To listen. To belong. I backed away. Tripping. Falling down the hill. The mist closing in. Thickening. The trees bending over me. I ran. I didn't look back. This time I didn't look back. But I knew it was still there. Behind me. Beside me. Inside me. The grave was never empty. Because I had always been part of it. I just didn't know yet. I don't remember how I got back to the car. Only that the sky was lighter. The woods behind me darker. The bells quieter. But still there. I drove. I drove until the gas tank emptied. Until the lines on the road blurred. Towns passed. Faces blurred. Lights smeared into the night. Nothing felt real. The bells were soft now. Like they were inside my blood. Inside my breathing. A second heartbeat. Always behind the first. I made it home. The city felt different. Smaller. Grayer. Hollow. People moved past me on the sidewalks. Smiling. Talking. None of them looked at me. None of them heard it. The bells were for me alone. I climbed the stairs to my apartment. The key stuck in the lock. For a second I thought about leaving it there. Just turning around. Walking until my legs gave out. But I didn't. I turned the key. The door opened. Everything was the same. Couch. TV. Pictures on the wall. But it wasn't the same. Not really. The air buzzed. Thick and wet. The bells rang once. Low and slow. I left my bag by the door. Walked to the bathroom. Splashed water on my face. Looked up at the mirror. For a second. Just a flicker. I wasn't alone. A shape behind me. Tall. Thin. Smiling without lips. I blinked. Gone. But the smell of old dust stayed. I don't sleep much anymore. When I close my eyes, I see the hill. The grave. The mirror. My reflection smiling back. Sometimes at night, I hear footsteps in the hallway. Soft. Barefoot. Sometimes the bells ring once. Twice. Sometimes they don't ring at all. And that's worse. I tried burning the clothes I wore that night. I tried throwing away the matchbook. The one I found in my pocket weeks later. Burnt at the edges. It didn't help. The bells are part of me now. Stitched into the seams of my life. I know they're waiting. Patient. Kind almost. They don't rush. They don't chase. They know I'll come back. Because you can't leave something behind when it's already inside you.